Hi, I'm going to show you how I make a baby bonnet, a ventilator bonnet, with the combination of knitting and crochet. The reason I do that is because the crochet makes a lovely round hat at the back, and then you pick those stitches up and you can then just continue to knit with them. So I find that much easier. For this project I'm using, this is Baby Rico double knit, and I'm using a size 3mm double pointed needles, but you can equally use any size yarn, double knitting, 4-ply, and the equivalent size needles to go with that. And you can also use double pointed needles with the wire between them, like the Knit Pros. In addition to that, I'm also using a crochet hook, which in this case is a 3mm, but you could change that as well according to the size of the yarn that you're using. I also use one of these tiny little needles, these Knit Pros, because I find it easier, and you'll see when I get to that little part of the flap, just to hold my needles. But if you don't have that, something like a stitch holder, a metal stitch holder, which is like a giant safety pin or a safety pin, or one of these little cable needles just to hold your stitches until you start working on them. So to start off with, I make a magic ring. So I'm going to wrap the yarn around my fingers twice, and then I'm going to pick up my yarn. Pardon me. I do have a chest infection, so this is a bit more difficult. So I've made my stitch, and then I remove my fingers out of my double loop, get my tail out of the way, and I am going to do 10 single crochet into the center of my ring. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now you don't want to do these too tight, otherwise it's going to be difficult to pull your magic ring. So now there's my ring with my 10 single crochet, and I just keep my loop on the hook, and I pull on the tail of my yarn to find which strand gets shorter, and wherever that one gets shorter, I then pull this shortened one, the one that's got tighter. I pull that to get the other loop tight. There's really good videos online of how to do this. I'm not going to teach you something that already somebody else has spent a long time mastering and teaching you online. So go and find a video for that if you want. And then what I do is I join this stitch at the end to the first stitch of my magic loop, my 2 single crochets, and so now I have a closed circle, and that's the start. I'm now going to do 2 chain, and into the same stitch I'm going to do a half double crochet. I think that's a treble in the United States. And then I'm going to do the same 2 HDs into every stitch around, and then when I've done that, I will join the loop again, the ring, the round, whichever you like to call it, to close the circle, and I'll repeat that as many times as I want. And the back, this is the back of the baby's head, so depending on the size of the baby will determine how many rounds you will do. Also, the number of rounds you do will depend on how thick your yarn is. But whatever your yarn you use, just make sure it's nice and soft, because these are very, very vulnerable babies, and so we want to keep them protected from the cold, but also we don't want any scratchy yarn near their delicate skin. We're going to finish off here. Let me just do this final couple of stitches in this round, and I will show you how I join it, and then we will do the final thing, which is closing up the ring. So there you go, one more stitch. So if I've done 10 in the first round, I now should do 20 in the second round. So those were single crochets. This is now half double or treble crochet. And then I'm just going to go and do a slip stitch into the first stitch of that round, and I now have a closed circle again. So for this pattern I'm going to do another 2 rounds at least, maybe 3, and then I'll come back to you and show you what to do next. So just 2 chain and repeat that all the way around. And I don't particularly count 2 in each stitch on this one, because sometimes it's too many and I have a wave, it starts to make waves, and sometimes it's too few and it wants to curl. So I kind of just do it as I go along. So what I tend to do, and this is only a guideline, this round I will do 2 into one stitch, 2 into the next stitch, and then in the third stitch I will do a single half double, a treble. And that's what I tend to do with this yarn all the way around. So if you have a look here, I'm doing 2 into that one, 2 into the next one, 1 into the next one, 2, 2, 1, so 5 in all. And I find that that works nicely to keep my work flat. If it's too many, just do 1 into 2 stitches, something like that. And if you're finding it's getting too tight, in other words it's curving, then just do 2, 2 and 2, and then the next one try 2, 2, 1. And really it is depending on everything from your yarn choice, the size of your hook, the tension you put onto your yarn, all sorts of things, which is why I only give you the guideline. There you go. I'll come back to you when I'm finished my rounds.